My husband, 43-year-old male, and I, 47-year-old female, have been together since 2014 and have been married for 1 year. We have one 6-year-old child. Where to begin? Unfortunately, I am handicapped because of a chronic disease and can no longer work. I have worked as a high school teacher. He works full-time as a teacher on Mondays and Fridays until 1 p.m. and on the other weekdays until 3 p.m. On his shorter days, he goes to the gym for 2.5 hours right after school. On Monday and Thursday evenings, he plays soccer with some colleagues and visits the sauna afterwards, approximately 6 p.m., 10 p.m. After he comes home from work, he does not want to communicate or spend time together, but sleep for about an hour. Afterwards, he drinks coffee and then he needs time for himself. On the evenings he's home, he wants to watch his program on the TV, usually sports. So I spend my evenings alone with my iPad in my room. That's okay for me. We've almost slept separately since the beginning. On the weekends, he usually takes trips with our son, where I cannot join because of my disability. I'd love to be able to go on some trips too, so that I might be able to join as well. But he does not want our son to have to consider this or miss out on anything because of me. Some days, he also goes hiking with friends for a whole day on weekends. That's okay. But every time I want to spend time with him, he says he does not have any time and that I am needy and just don't realize how busy he is. And when he does spend time with me, he limits it. For example, he says, okay, but only 5 minutes. I want need to do this or that. And then he stands up after those 5 minutes. When I complain and ask him, for example, why he doesn't take time for me like he does for sports, he tells me that his sport is not negotiable because he's not doing it for fun, but for his health. He slipped a disc last year and has been advised to go to the gym. Whatever I say, I am always the one who doesn't understand how things work or who is demanding. I tried to tell him how I felt this afternoon and called him. I told him I felt lonely and sad, that he doesn't want to spend time with me. He just listened and said nothing. And then said hollow phrases like, we will find time in the future. I said I can't take it anymore. He said nothing. The line was just quiet. And then after a while, he said, I'm going to end the call now. And he hung up. Am I expecting too much? How much time do you spend with your significant other? Edit. We have a cleaning helper who takes care of the bathrooms, floors, etc. But we also have a dog, which takes about 4 to 5 hours of his week to walk, since I am not able to walk that long. Update, edit 1. He tells me that if I tell him how I feel about his behavior, that I am the problem, and that I'm merely projecting it onto him because I refuse to work on my health problems harder. Edit 2. He cooks most of the time, but our kid gets school lunch, and if he does not cook, I'm not asking him to. Today I tried to talk to him again, but the result was edit 1, edit 2. I wrote because he really does a lot at home. He just told me that tonight he's having a beer with the boys. I couldn't hold back, and I asked him, if he had time for that, why didn't he have time for me? He answered that if I helped him more at home, he would have more time for me. I asked him why he thought I didn't help more. He answered with an eye roll. Because you're not able to. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He won't choose family activities that you can be part of. This isn't a marriage. I'm so sorry you've basically been abandoned by your spouse. I would have a serious discussion about what he actually wants. You are not furniture. You are not an inconvenience. You're still his wife and the mother of his child. If he doesn't want to be a husband, it's time for him to speak up instead of excluding you, pointedly, every chance he gets. It's the trips with son that don't include you that's really showing that he wants to be pointedly cruel. Comment 2. You guys are practically divorced, emotionally. Your husband is extremely selfish. He cannot get a van suited for your wheelchair so you can be involved in activities and travel with them. He has shown repeatedly he wants nothing to do with you. At this point, you are a guest in the house, not his wife or partner. My advice? Divorce him. Because I don't think he will want to go to marriage counseling or even listen to you. Damn, he's such a frickin' a-hole to you. Ugh. Now for the update. Thank you for sticking around for this update. So, things have been pretty tense around here lately. Remember how I mentioned my husband's gym routine and soccer nights? Well, turns out those weren't the only things keeping him busy. A couple of weeks ago, I found out he's been secretly meeting someone from his past. An old flame, apparently. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I knew we had our issues, but this? It was a whole new level of betrayal. I confronted him about it, and he didn't even deny it. Said it was just catching up. But who just catches up for hours on end, right? The trust I had in him, it's just shattered. And the worst part is, he didn't even seem sorry. He just kept saying I was blowing things out of proportion, and that I should focus on getting better, instead of accusing him. But let's not forget, I'm not the only one in this family. Our kid, bless his heart, he's been picking up on the tension. He asked me why Daddy was always so busy and why Mommy was always so sad. It broke my heart. I tried to keep it together for his sake, but kids are smart, you know? They feel everything. Amidst all this, I've been trying to find ways to be more independent, to show my husband that I'm not just a burden. I started doing some exercises at home, the ones the doctor recommended. It's tough, but I'm pushing through. I want to be stronger for myself and for our son. And then, last weekend, something happened. My husband had planned another one of his hiking trips with friends, but this time, he couldn't go. His friend, the one he usually goes with, had an emergency and had to cancel. So, there he was, all dressed up with no place to go. And for the first time in what felt like forever, he asked if I wanted to do something together. Just the two of us. I was cautious, but I agreed. We ended up having a quiet day at home, playing board games and talking. It was nice. It felt like we were actually connecting again. But I couldn't shake off the feeling that this was just a one-off thing, because his plans fell through. Fast forward to today, and I'm sitting here, trying to make sense of it all. He's been a bit more present since that day, but I can't tell if it's genuine or just guilt. And I'm still hurt about the other woman. I mean, how do you just get over something like that? I've been thinking a lot about what to do next. I love him, I do, but I can't live like this. I need to feel valued, not just an afterthought. So I've decided to have a serious talk with him, lay everything out on the table, my feelings, my needs, and the future of our marriage. It's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. I guess we'll see how that goes. I'm not expecting miracles, but I'm hoping for some kind of breakthrough, or at least a starting point to mend what's been broken. Thank you for reading. My husband cheats while I'm pregnant after IVF struggles. So I take our son and start a new life where he can't touch us. Husband, 34-year-old male, and I, 29-year-old female, have been married for 5 years. I just gave birth to our son 2 months ago while my husband was deployed. Here's some background information on us. We both come from a military background. He is still on active duty while I am now out of the military and working in a different career field. We were living overseas and moved to our current home 4 months ago. I was diagnosed with PCOS, have had 2 miscarriages, and after trying for 3 years, we went the IVF route. So it has been a long and stressful journey for us to have our miracle baby. My husband left for deployment when I was 8 months pregnant, and I was living in an empty house, sleeping on an air mattress, with a new job in a new country. I don't want this to be a pity party, but I do want to stress that I was not having a great time. On top of this, my father was diagnosed with cancer and going through chemo during this time. My mom came out for my son's birth to help me, but it was a very traumatic experience where I had to have an emergency C-section. My son almost didn't make it, and we were in the hospital for a week. My mom could only stay a couple weeks because she needed to get back to help my dad. Okay, now to my marriage. My husband and I met in the military. I have been deployed, so I know just how much cheating and lying goes on, and it's disgusting. I have always told him that cheating is a deal breaker for me, and I needed honesty in our relationship. I asked him to respect my wishes of not going to strip clubs and not staying out until 4 a.m. Well, this is the 3rd time I've caught him lying about going to a strip club. I saw his location at a club at 2 a.m. and immediately tried calling him. He ignored the call, got an Uber to his hotel, and didn't text me until the next day, like nothing happened. I was livid. I didn't respond to him because he was coming home the following day. and I wanted to talk in person so he couldn't hide anything. That night, he got so drunk that he lost his phone on the way to the airport. When he showed up, he acted like nothing happened. In the process of getting him a new phone, I found a dating app for married individuals seeking an affair that was downloaded the day after he left for deployment. While I was sitting in an empty house 8 months pregnant, he downloaded that app. I went to our phone bill and saw that there were no transactions for the app. I know that men have to pay to use this app, so maybe he didn't use it. The fact that he has the app is fricked up regardless. Then I looked at his bank statements and saw that he spent almost $300 at the strip club that he denied he went to. He said he had no idea it was a strip club, even though he spent 4 hours there. I asked if he was blind or stupid. That conversation happened 2 days ago, and he's sticking to his story, just denying everything and then acting like nothing is wrong. I don't know who this man is anymore. I'm so disappointed and just dumbfounded. I took off my ring and have been sleeping in the guest bedroom since he returned. I don't ever see myself trusting him again. I want my son to have a father in his life, but I can't afford to live in this area if we split. What do I do? Now, for a few comments before the update. Having gone through something eerily similar, minus military. They will lie and lie and lie and gaslight until you feel like you're a dumpster fire emotionally. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and looks like a duck, there's a good chance it's a duck. I'm so sorry you're experiencing any of this, and I cannot stress enough to take care of you and your baby's best interests first. I know you know the answer, as disappointing as it is and hard to understand. Please keep your mind open to what you know is the reality and truth, because he's going to keep making you feel like the problem is you and/or in your head. You know what to do. Do not let your child grow up seeing you roll over like a doormat, so your husband can just go do whatever with zero regard for his commitments and responsibilities at home. He didn't just cheat on you. That's $300 that your child needs. Babies are expensive. The only way you will not have hundreds of dollars wasted on strippers and booze is if you aren't married to this guy. Go live somewhere you can afford it, where you have support. Go be with your dad. I'm sorry, but this man isn't even worth crying over. But it is sad he values his own family so little. What a shame. Go ahead and embrace the rage. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, things have been pretty hard on us since I last filled you in. My husband, well, he's been trying to act like the model father, playing with our son, doing chores, but I can't shake off the feeling that it's all just a show. And I was right. I found out he's been secretly messaging someone. I stumbled upon it when I was using his laptop for work because mine crashed, and a message notification popped up. It was from a woman, and the preview showed enough for me to know it wasn't just a friendly chat. I confronted him, and he tried to brush it off as nothing. But I wasn't having any of it. I demanded to see the messages, and after a lot of arguing, he showed me. It was clear there was an emotional connection, and he admitted they met at the strip club that night. He swore nothing physical happened, but how can I believe that? I felt like my whole world was crumbling down again. But then, my mom called with news that turned everything on its head. My dad's cancer was in remission. It was a moment of relief in the midst of chaos, and it gave me a bit of strength. I needed to focus on what was best for my son and me, and living with a liar wasn't it. I started looking for a new job in a more affordable area. I was determined to make it on my own, and then, as if things weren't messy enough, my husband's commanding officer called me. He had been caught in a compromising situation with another service member, and it was being investigated. The military doesn't take kindly to that kind of behavior, and he was facing serious consequences. I felt a mix of vindication and heartbreak. I had been right all along, but it was a hollow victory. The man I married, the man I thought I knew, was a stranger to me now, and his actions were going to affect all of us. In the midst of all this, I got a job offer. It was in a different state, but it was a great opportunity, and it would allow me to start fresh. I took it. I told my husband I was leaving, and he didn't take it well. He begged me to stay, said he would change, but I couldn't trust him anymore. The move was hard, but my son and I are settling in. I've been meeting new people, and I'm starting to feel hopeful for the first time in a long time. My husband is still trying to contact me, but I'm keeping communication to a minimum. only about our son. It's been a month since I moved, and I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I'm focusing on my son and my new job, and I'm starting to feel like I can breathe again. It's not easy, but I'm getting there. Thanks for reading. My stepsister cheats on her BF at a concert after just 2 months and begs me to keep quiet. So I give her a week to confess, or I spill the beans and watch her relationship crumble. So full disclosure, I made this Reddit account a week ago, and I've been typing this and deleting it every day out of anxiety. My stepsister, who is 24 years old, and her boyfriend, who is 27 years old, have been together for about 2.5 months. I've only met the guy twice. He's pretty introverted, so I haven't been able to get a great feel for him. But he's a nice guy, has a good job, and treats my sister very well, which makes this situation even worse. 2 weekends ago, me, my sister, and her best friend, who I'm close to as well, went to a show about an hour and a half away. We had pit tickets, so when we got there, we got drinks and stood for a few minutes, trying to get a feel for the crowd. As the opening band began to play, a group of guys filled in behind us. There were 4 of them, all tall and pretty handsome. One of them complimented her best friend's tattoo, and we started talking in kind of merged groups. There was one who kind of focused on my sister, and they started talking. As they were talking, she had pretty flirty body language, laughing, smiling, touching his arm. She's a very outgoing person, and this isn't totally out of the norm for her, so I kind of looked the other way. However, as the night went on, they kept talking as we were listening to music. They got closer until he was standing behind her with his hands on her hips and her hands on his, like couples do at shows. The group was pretty drunk at this point, so it felt like I was the only one noticing. I made eye contact with her and tilted my head as to ask what was she doing. She smiled and separated herself from him. Whatever. A momentary lapse of judgment. I was willing to call it over. However, an hour later, I was in line for the bathroom and I saw them in an area towards the back with her hands wrapped around his neck and his on her hips, talking and laughing in this embrace. Not proud to say I froze, then elected to stay in line and use the bathroom. When I got back to the group, they were gone. They returned about an hour later. What happened in that hour, I have no idea, but I just feel like it was nothing good. The drive home was quiet as the girls had drank a lot. I dropped them off and haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. So obviously I need to tell him. Like I said before, I don't know him well, but he seems like a good dude. Here's the thing though. I don't have any contact information for him. The only thing I know is where he works and his hours. I don't really want to show up at his work with life-changing news. So like I said, I'm just feeling very stuck. My sister is genuinely a good person, and I love having her in my life. But I can't just pretend this didn't happen. Edit. For additional context, her dad married my mom about 1.5 years ago. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Every time I see this, I give the same advice, and I'll get downvoted for it every time. Everybody telling you to intervene is comfortably not in your position. This is not your problem, and this will come back to bite you if you interfere. Sure, you want to be a good person and do the right thing, but let's play this out. Somebody that you aren't close to is being betrayed. You tell them, they break up, and every family gathering afterwards is going to be difficult. You aren't some relationship Batman, and this is neither your fault nor responsibility to fix. Chances are this relationship is doomed anyways. You don't need to be collateral damage. Comment 2. You've known your stepsister like all your life. So it is valuable you talk to her about it and discuss why she did it and that the dude was only 2.5 months into their relationship, which is actually a small fraction of time. But it doesn't excuse her behavior. If you are honest and open with her, then do it. But remember to tell her you want her to tell her boyfriend about what happened. And who knows, maybe they aren't even serious emotionally if she's already trying to leave the other guy. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around after my last post. I appreciate it. So, the week's been a mess. I've been wrestling with the idea of telling my stepsister's boyfriend about what happened at the show. It's been eating at me, But then, things got even more complicated. Just a few days ago, I was at home when my sister came over, looking all stressed out. She said she needed to talk. Turns out she's been feeling guilty about that night, and she's scared her boyfriend might find out. She begged me not to say anything. She said it was a one-time mistake and that she loves her boyfriend. I didn't know what to do. I mean, she's family, right? But then, the next day, I ran into her boyfriend at the grocery store. It was awkward. He was all smiles, talking about how he's planning to surprise my sister with a weekend getaway. My heart sank. He's out here making plans and he has no idea what's going on. I just nodded and made some excuse to leave. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about my sister and her boyfriend. I felt like I was stuck with a difficult choice. If I told him, I'd betray my sister. If I didn't, I'd be letting him live a lie. The following day, I was hanging out with my sister's best friend, the one from the show. She could tell something was off with me. I ended up spilling everything. She was shocked, but then she dropped the news on me. She said that wasn't the first time my sister had done something like that. Apparently, my sister had a history of flirting with other guys when she's had a few drinks. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I didn't even know my sister anymore. I was angry and confused. I decided I had to confront my sister. I told her what her friend had said. She got defensive at first, but then she broke down crying. She admitted she had a problem. She said she didn't want to hurt anyone, but she didn't know how to stop. She promised she'd seek help. I was torn. On one hand, I was glad she was taking responsibility. On the other, I was still worried about her boyfriend. I decided to give her a chance to come clean to him herself. I told her she had a week to tell him the truth or I would. The week passed, and I was anxious every day, wondering if she'd done it. Then, yesterday, she called me. She said she'd told her boyfriend everything. She said it was the hardest thing she'd ever done, but she felt like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. He was hurt, obviously, but he appreciated her honesty. They decided to take a break while she worked on herself. I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I was relieved that the truth was out, but sad that their relationship was on the rocks. It was a tough situation, but at least now everyone knew where they stood. So, that's where things are at now. It's been a rough week, but I'm hoping things will start to get better from here. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.